My manager called my Christmas gift cheap, worthless trash in front of the whole office. The part that stuck with me wasn't the insult, it was the way people laughed, then looked at me like I was the one who should be embarrassed for trying. I'm not the kind of guy who makes scenes. I'm the guy who fixes the printer when it jams and puts extra coffee filters in the cabinet when they're about to run out. I'm invisible until something stops working. That's kind of my job description and kind of my personality. So when our HR sent out an email about the fun, optional secret Santa exchange, I almost deleted it, but then I saw her name on the list. Melissa Hart, my manager. Early 40s, perfect bob haircut, always in heels that sounded like punctuation on the polished floor. She could make a good morning sound like a performance review. I've worked under her for 3 years, and in that time she's given me one actual compliment and about 50 versions of, "That's the bare minimum, but okay." She still signed up for Secret Santa, though. Of course she did. She liked being the center of anything festive. Everyone else rolled the $25 limit into a joke. "I'll just get them a mug." Socks again. But when I pulled her name from the little red cardboard box in the break room, my stomach dipped. I could have swapped. People do that under the table all the time. Instead, I just stared at the folded slip with her name and thought, maybe this is my chance to show I actually pay attention. You'd think I would have learned by now that people like her don't want to be seen. Not really. I spent 3 nights figuring out what to buy her. $25 might not be much for some people, but for me, it's a week of groceries if I plan it right. She loved talking about self-care in meetings, about setting intentions, always with that matte black water bottle and the expensive planner on her desk. I noticed she flipped through that planner constantly, scribbling, sticking color-coded flags in it. Half our one-on-ones were her writing while I talked. So I found a guy online who makes custom leather covers for planners and notebooks. Dark green, her favorite color. I knew that because she always mentioned it when we did the fun fact about yourself icebreakers for new hires. I paid extra to have her initials embossed in gold in the corner. The total came to just under 40. I ate cheap that week and told myself it was worth it. It wasn't just a gift. It was proof I listened when she spoke. The office party was on a Thursday afternoon. They called it a holiday social, which meant lukewarm bakery cookies, grocery store punch, and the finance director in a novelty tie with little Santa hats on it. Someone had dragged a fake tree into the corner of the conference room and wrapped the bottom in a red blanket to hide the chip stand. A Bluetooth speaker on the filing cabinet played the same 5 songs on loop. I came in a little late, still holding my mug, my gift bag folded carefully in my hand so the tissue paper wouldn't crush. People were already clustering in little circles, marketing by the window, IT by the snacks, senior management near the tree. Melissa was exactly where I expected her to be, front and center, laughing at something the regional director had said, one hand on his forearm like they were old friends. She looked good. She always did. Dark green blouse, gold earrings, lipstick the same color as the cheap plastic ornaments someone had stuck on the tree. She saw me over the rim of her glass and gave me that quick, polite smile she used in the hallways. A manager's smile. I nodded back and took my usual place near the back, close enough to be counted present, far enough not to be in any photos. When HR finally clapped for attention and started the Secret Santa exchange, the room actually felt light for a second. People cheered when someone opened a ridiculous hat. Someone got a novelty mug shaped like a toilet and laughed until he cried. It was corny, but it was normal. Safe. "Okay, last one," the HR girl said, slightly breathless from managing adults like toddlers. "Melissa, you're up." Of course they saved her for last. She walked to the tree like it was a stage, heels clicking, smile already in place. Her gift was in a simple craft paper bag with a green ribbon, the one I'd picked because I'd decided the gift would speak for itself. No glitter, no joke. Just, honest. She lifted it by the handles and turned, letting everyone see it like it was part of a show. "Ooh, mysterious," she said. No fancy wrapping. Must be practical. There was a little ripple of laughter. I felt my ears heat up, even though no one knew it was from me. I folded my arms tighter across my chest. She pulled out the tissue paper with exaggerated care, then slid the leather cover from the bag. For a heartbeat, there was only the soft sound of music and someone's nervous chuckle. The dark green leather caught the overhead light, the gold initials MH gleaming in the corner, exactly the way I'd pictured. Her face did something. A flicker, like surprise, then something else I couldn't read. She turned it in her hands slowly, then looked up. "Whoever my secret Santa is," she said, loud enough for both departments and the regional director to hear. "I appreciate the thought, but—" She let out this little laugh, sharp as broken glass. "I did say $25 limit, not whatever this is. It looks like something off a street stall. Cheap, worthless trash." She said it so quickly you could almost mistake it for a joke. But the word trash hung in the air longer than the others. Someone near the front forced a laugh. Someone else coughed. The Bluetooth speaker skipped to another song. She dropped the cover back into the bag like it was light, like it didn't have the weight of my rent money sitting in the stitching. The bag tipped over on the table, and the cover slid halfway out, lying there on its side, green and gold and completely exposed. Heat climbed up my neck and settled behind my eyes. My first instinct was stupid. Step forward and say, "Actually, that cost more than everything else on this table." Like that would make it better. Like price was the point. My second instinct was to shrink into the carpet. I didn't do either. I just stood there, fingers digging into my own mug so hard I could feel the ceramic edge in my palm. "Melissa," someone said near the tree, voice lower than the others. I saw who it was when the cluster shifted. David Cole, our regional director, my manager's boss's boss. Late 50s, gray at the temples, the kind of guy who never raised his voice because he didn't need to. He'd been standing just to her left, watching. He didn't smile. He didn't say anything else. He just looked at the leather cover on the table, then back at her with an expression I'd never seen him use in a meeting. It wasn't angry. It was disappointed. Quietly, deeply disappointed. Melissa's cheeks colored under her makeup. "I mean," she added quickly, voice a little tighter, "I'm sure it's fine. Maybe it'll grow on me." The room tried to move on. HR laughed too loudly and started thanking everyone for participating. People drifted toward the snacks and the door at the same time, desperate to pretend nothing weird had happened. I didn't move. I watched as Melissa pushed the bag aside like it was in her way, turning back to David with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I watched as he didn't fully turn with her. His gaze followed the bag for 1 second too long. That was when it landed, not the insult, not even the wasted money, but the simple fact that she had finally shown someone else the version of herself the rest of us knew. I set my mug down, wiped my palm on my pants, and forced my feet toward the table. Melissa was already talking again, some joke about carb counts. She didn't look at me as I reached past her and picked up the fallen leather cover. For a second, my thumb rested on the gold initials that I'd thought would make her feel seen. "Leaving already, Daniel?" she asked, still half turned toward her audience. "It's Mark," I said quietly. "And yeah, I think I'm done for today." She didn't even bother to correct herself. She just lifted her glass in a mock toast and went back to her conversation. As I walked out of the conference room with the cheap, worthless trash in my hand, I felt someone fall into step beside me. The air in the hallway was cooler, thinner. I didn't look up until I heard the voice. "Mind if I see that for a second?" David turned the leather cover over in his hands like he was checking the stitching. We stood in the hallway outside the conference room, the muffled music and small talk fading behind the door. His expression didn't shift much, but I noticed the slight tension in his jaw. "This is handcrafted," he said. "Not cheap at all." I didn't answer. I didn't trust my voice yet. He handed it back gently, not like Melissa tossing it aside. "Did you give her this?" I nodded once. He inhaled through his nose. Slow. "All right," he said. "Enjoy the rest of your day, Mark." I expected him to walk away. Instead, he paused, looked back toward the conference room, and added, "Don't worry, I saw everything." Then he walked off, leaving me standing there with the bag in my hand, and a dull throb behind my ribs that felt a lot like embarrassment, turning into something sharper. I went home early. I didn't log back on. I microwaved leftover pasta, ate half of it, and threw the rest out because everything tasted like humiliation. I kept seeing her face, the little smirk she gave right before she said trash. She enjoyed it. That was the part that wouldn't leave me. The next morning, I walked into the office at 8:58 exactly, 2 minutes early, like always. My cubicle was the same, plant leaning toward the window, old keyboard, small stack of invoices I'd left from the day before. For a moment, it felt normal. Then Melissa appeared, coffee in hand, heels hitting the carpet like she wanted to remind everyone she existed. "Morning," she chirped, far too bright. "Long night?" I looked up slowly. "Not particularly." She leaned against the divider. "I hope you're not upset. You know how these office things go. Jokes, silliness, all in good fun?" "Sure," I said. "Fun." She tilted her head like she was trying to gauge how much she'd gotten away with. "Anyway, let's not make it a big thing. It was a silly moment. No harm done." That sentence stuck out to me. No harm done. It's always the people who cause harm who say that. Around 10 a.m. she called me into her office. The door was half closed when I arrived, signaling it wasn't, private, but also wasn't truly public, her territory. She gestured toward the guest chair with the confidence of someone who never considers they might be wrong. "So," she said, folding her hands on her desk, "about yesterday. I'd appreciate if you didn't take it personally or spread any negativity around. People misinterpret things." "I haven't said anything to anyone," I replied. "Good. Really good. Let's keep it that way." She smiled the smile she used when she pretended to be mentoring someone. "You're loyal. I like that about you." Then, as if to balance the scales in her own mind, she added, though truthfully the gift was inappropriate, too personal. Managers shouldn't receive things like that. It creates weird dynamics. That was new. Yesterday it was trash. Today it was too personal. "Understood," I said. She nodded, satisfied. "And going forward, let's keep communication professional and limit any unnecessary conversations, all right? Boundaries are important." That was rich, considering she'd humiliated me for sport 24 hours earlier. I walked out before she could add anything else. My coworkers glanced up as I passed. Quick, searching looks. They didn't know what to say. They'd all heard her at the party. Some had laughed. Some had looked away. All of them knew. By lunch, the office felt heavier than usual. People kept doing that thing where they stop whispering the second you walk by, but also don't meet your eyes. I ate in my car. When I came back, a message popped up from HR. "Hi, Mark. Please stop by when you have a moment." That was fast. I sat down across from our HR rep, a woman named Lauren, who always seemed 2 seconds away from either crying or apologizing. She gestured toward the chair. "This won't take long," she said. "I just wanted to ask about the incident yesterday." "Which part?" I asked. She winced. "The Secret Santa moment." I kept my voice even. "Do you need a statement?" Her eyebrows lifted slightly, as if she didn't expect me to go straight to the point. "Well, yes. If you're comfortable." "Sure." She clicked her pen. "Tell me what happened in your own words." So I told her, calmly, briefly, without embellishing a single thing. I didn't add emotion, I didn't offer interpretations. I just described the exact sequence of events. When I finished, Lauren sat back like she needed to rethink the next sentence. "Thank you," she said. "Your response was helpful." Helpful? That was new. I stood ready to leave when she said quietly, "You're not the only one who noticed, or the only one who said something." I paused. "What do you mean?" But she shook her head. "I can't discuss other conversations. Just know it wasn't ignored." I left her office with a strange feeling twisting in my stomach, part relief, part uncertainty. For the first time, I started to wonder if what I thought was a passing moment might grow into something else. By mid-afternoon, Melissa was more irritable than usual, snapping at interns, pacing, clicking her pen with unnecessary force. She kept glancing toward the hallway to HR like it was a fire alarm that might go off any minute. Around 4 p.m., she cornered me near the supply closet. "Did you talk to HR?" she demanded in a low voice that barely hid her panic. I looked at her carefully. "They asked," I answered. "What did you say?" "The truth." She inhaled sharply. "Well, let's hope your truth doesn't cause problems. For anyone." There it was, that small hairline crack in her voice, control slipping. She stepped back, straightened her jacket, and added, "This is ridiculous. People are overreacting to a joke." I walked past her without replying, and as I reached my desk, sitting down in my squeaky old chair, a quiet realization settled in. Yesterday had been humiliation. Today was irritation. But tomorrow? Tomorrow was going to be something else entirely. The chaos didn't start loudly. It never does with people like Melissa. It started with a door, specifically the sound of her office door closing and staying closed for a long, unusual amount of time the next morning. When I arrived at my desk, she wasn't pacing, wasn't clicking her pen, wasn't hovering over anyone's shoulder pretending to supervise. Her blinds were drawn, which she never did unless she was on a call she didn't want anyone to witness. By 9:30, people were whispering. I think HR called her in. No, it was David. She looked shaken. I didn't join any of the conversations. I just kept working, sorting invoices and entering timesheets, the kind of mundane tasks that let your brain run quiet under the surface. Around 10:15, she finally emerged. Her makeup was perfect, but her expression wasn't. Her jaw was too tight. She scanned the office with a brittle smile that fooled absolutely no one. "Team," she said, her voice pitched just slightly higher than normal. "Quick reminder, today we're focusing on getting those end-of-year reports finalized. Let's aim for excellence, okay?" Her usual tone was condescending confidence. Today it was forced optimism, like she needed to convince herself more than us. I didn't look up. An hour later, Lauren from HR walked into our department. Not quietly, not secretly. Everyone saw her. She asked 2 people for a moment of their time, separately behind closed doors. Neither of those people was me. I heard one of the conversations through the thin wall near the meeting room. Not words, just the tone. Hesitant, nervous, like someone confessing something they'd been holding on to for a long time. And suddenly, I knew. I wasn't the only one Melissa had humiliated. I was just the first person whose breaking point happened publicly. The second coworker came out of the room looking lighter, strangely relieved, like she'd finally put something down she'd been carrying for months. Melissa watched all of this from her office with a frozen smile, a porcelain expression that looked too fragile to survive temperature changes. Around 1 p.m., the moment broke. David arrived. He didn't send an email. He didn't check in with HR first. He walked straight into our department with the calm confidence of someone who has already decided the outcome. "Melissa," he said from the doorway of her office, "I need you." Her smile twitched. "Of course. Is this about—" "Now," he added. Not unkind, just final. The blinds closed again. The entire department went silent. Even the interns pretended to work. I could hear the blood in my own ears. After 20 minutes, her door opened. She followed him out, shoulders pulled back, trying to look composed. But her eyes were red around the rims, and her hands trembled slightly as she smoothed her blouse. She didn't look at anyone while she walked with him toward the elevator. When the doors shut, someone finally whispered, "Holy shit!" The dam broke after that. People started talking. Really talking. Last month, she told me my degree must have been on sale. She called my presentation a waste of company time. She once said my accent made me sound unprofessional. I listened quietly, not because I didn't have my own stories, but because I realized how many of them existed long before my gift ever hit her desk. By 3 p.m., HR called me again. This time, Lauren's expression was different, less nervous, more grateful. "Mark," she said, "thank you again for your cooperation. I can't tell you details, but your professionalism helped." "I didn't do anything special," I replied. "You did," she said gently, "and other people felt safe because of it." Safe. That word sat heavier than I expected. I left HR's office and returned to my desk. The department felt staged, waiting for something else to happen. At 4:10, we got the email. Effective immediately, Melissa Hart will be taking a temporary administrative leave. During her absence, departmental leadership will transition to interim oversight. No explanation, no apology, just corporate language meant to avoid lawsuits. But the meaning was clear. She was out. People exhaled, not loudly, not in celebration, more like they'd been holding their breath for so long they forgot what normal oxygen tasted like. I shut down my computer at 5 p.m. sharp. My routine was unchanged, but my insides felt different. Steady, grounded, certain. I walked toward the elevator, ready to go home, when I heard heels approaching fast behind me. Not confident heels, desperate ones. "Mark?" she said. I turned. Melissa stood there, makeup still perfect, but her composure finally cracked. She wasn't performing now. She looked like someone who'd been stripped of her script. "Can we talk?" she asked. "No," I said. She flinched. I don't think you understand what you've started." "I didn't start anything," I replied. "You did." Her throat bobbed. "It was a joke." "You humiliated me in front of the entire department," I said quietly. "And apparently you've done it to others for a long time." "You're blowing this out of proportion," she said, voice trembling. "No," I answered. "You're finally seeing the proportion." A beat of silence. "This could ruin my career," she whispered. I met her eyes evenly. "You should have thought about that before calling your employees gift trash in front of your boss." She stepped closer like she wanted to grab my arm. I moved back before she could. "Mark, please." But I was already stepping into the elevator. As the doors closed between us, she said one more thing, something soft, desperate, and almost angry. "You don't know what this will cost." She was wrong. I knew exactly what it would cost. And the strangest part was, by the time I reached the first floor, I'd already accepted the price. The next week felt like stepping into a different building, even though everything looked the same. Same cubicles, same terrible break room coffee, same flickering hallway light no one ever fixed. But the air? The air was lighter. People moved differently. Nobody flinched when heels clicked on the floor because there were no more weaponized heels. On Monday morning, the interim oversight email arrived. For the duration of Melissa Hart's leave, departmental workflow will be supervised by David Cole. David wasn't a micromanager. He didn't hover. He simply walked in, rolled up his sleeves, and asked, "What do you need to do your jobs better?" It was the first time in 3 years I'd heard that question directed at us. People began staying in the break room longer, not because they didn't want to work, but because the space didn't feel hostile. Someone brought donuts. Someone else actually turned on the small Bluetooth speaker we kept for Fridays. I saw 2 interns laughing instead of stiffening whenever management passed by. The strangest change happened to me. People started asking my opinion, not in the polite, "Mark, you're good with spreadsheets, right?" way. No. Real questions. "What do you think about revising the workflow? Would this system reduce mistakes? Can you explain your process to the group?" And every time I answered, calm, clear, simple. I didn't realize how much silence I'd swallowed until I didn't have to anymore. On Wednesday, as I was finishing an invoice set, David stopped by my cubicle. He leaned on the divider, arms crossed, observing quietly the way good leaders do. "How's your week been?" he asked. "Productive," I said. His lips lifted. Not a smile exactly, but an acknowledgement. I meant what I said last week. I saw everything. I nodded. You handled the situation professionally, he continued. Most people would have escalated, yelled, posted something online. You didn't. There wasn't anything to yell about, I said. Just facts. He studied me for a second. Then, when this settles, there may be some restructuring. Keep your calendar open. That was all. No promises, no hints. Just a door cracked open, and it was enough. By Friday, the building felt like it had exhaled completely. People weren't walking around waiting for Melissa's voice to slice through the quiet. No one was whispering nervously in the hall. The whole place felt stable. Peace has a sound. You don't notice it until it arrives. Around 4 p.m., as I was packing up, Lauren from HR stopped by my desk. Do you have a minute? She asked. Her expression wasn't tight this time. She looked relieved. We're closing the investigation, she said in her small office. I can't give you details, but several employees came forward. Not just about the party, but about past incidents. I didn't say anything. She won't be returning to management, Lauren added softly. There will be a reassignment. Lateral, not supervisory. A beat passed. She may not stay with the company much longer, she finished. I nodded. Not gloating, not smiling. Just acknowledging reality. Thank you, she said. You helped more people than you know. I left her office with a strange clarity, a steadiness that wasn't triumph, but something quieter, heavier, satisfying in a way that had nothing to do with revenge. On my way out of the building, I passed the small glass wall that faced the visitor parking lot. A single sedan sat there, engine off, Melissa inside. She was angled toward her steering wheel, hands still, staring straight ahead, not crying, just still. The way people get when the world catches up to them. She didn't see me, and I didn't tap the glass or wave or try to avoid her. I just walked past without breaking stride. Somewhere between the elevator and the front door, I realized the sharp knot of tension that had lived under my ribs for months was gone. Not eased, gone. That night, I reheated leftover stir-fry at home, turned on a quiet playlist, and let the house stay dim. I didn't need noise. I didn't need validation. I didn't need a dramatic ending. Peace doesn't need applause. 2 weeks later, another internal memo went out. Please welcome our new departmental coordinator, Mark Hale. My name. A role Melissa had once told me I wasn't leadership material for. My coworkers congratulated me, some sincerely, some nervously, some with relief in their eyes. I answered them all the same way, calmly, without ego. The job wasn't a trophy. It was just a place where I could work without shrinking. On my first day in the new role, I found something in my mailbox. A small box, carefully wrapped. No name, no note. Inside was a planner cover, dark green, identical to the one I'd given Melissa, except this one had no initials. Blank, clean, ready. I ran my thumb over the leather. It felt warm, almost familiar. Someone must have thought they were being kind, returning the gesture. Or maybe they just understood that the original gift had always been meant for someone who actually valued it. I didn't ask who sent it. I slipped it over my new planner and set it on my clean desk. Work moved on. People moved on. The office settled into a rhythm that didn't revolve around fear. And somewhere in all of that quiet rebuilding, I realized something simple. You don't need to destroy someone to win. You just need to stop carrying their weight. The last time I saw Melissa was a week before she left the company for good. She passed me in the lobby, eyes forward, steps fast. She didn't look at me. I didn't look away. She kept walking. And for the first time since the office holiday party, since the moment she called my gift trash and expected me to swallow it, I felt something close completely, softly, with no anger at all, not revenge, not victory, just an end, a clean one, the kind that lets you breathe again.